Jack Smith did not see this coming. During a House hearing, Brandon Gill perfectly laid out why the special counsel overstepped his authority in issuing broad subpoenas, leaving Smith talking in circles and Jamie Raskin intervening to save him. That's why today's video is not to be missed. So if you believe truth isn't partisan, hit the subscribe button and let's jump right into it.
Mr. Smith, in January of 2023, did you subpoena then Speaker of the House Kevin McCarthy's toll records?
Yes, sir, we did.
Yes, you did. And the subpoena covered the time period between November 2020 and January 2021. Is that right?
I'm sorry, sir. Could you say that again?
We're not going to delay like this. The subpoena covered the time period between November of 2020 and January 2021. How many days after Kevin McCarthy was sworn in as Speaker did you subpoena his records?
I don't recall, but those two things had nothing to do with one.
It was 16 days after becoming the highest-ranking Republican in the House of Representatives. You subpoenaed his toll records. Do you agree that that might reasonably be considered a violation of the Speech or Debate Clause?
I do not, and I want to be clear that the toll
You
records...
were collecting months' worth of phone data. I mean, and Speaker McCarthy had no recourse, did he? Because you issued a non-disclosure order ensuring that neither he nor any of the American people knew about these subpoenas. Is that right?
The toll record, the non-content toll record subpoenas, we did secure non-disclosure orders for those subpoenas.
You did.
Now, stick with me for a moment, because the legal details here actually matter. You see, Jack Smith did not casually use the term non-content here, because that's what allowed his team to pursue subpoenas instead of warrants, which require a higher legal threshold. Basically, he relied on technicalities where a judge was provided with phone numbers tied to lawmakers without naming them directly and requested gag orders, claiming notification could, quote, risk the investigation. Then they turned to major telecom providers, and with a court order in place, those companies were expected to comply. Verizon and T-Mobile did, but AT&T raised further legal questions. And according to them, that's when Jack Smith dropped the matter altogether. That alone raises serious questions. But there are even more flaws with the legal reasoning. And when Brandon brought them up, Raskin tried to step in and save Smith.
And let me ask you, Mr. Smith, at the time you secured those non-disclosure orders, was Speaker McCarthy a flight risk?
The non-disclosure order was based on concerns about...
Was Speaker McCarthy a flight risk?
He was not.
He was not. Then why did your non-disclosure order refer to him as a flight risk? It says right here, the court finds reasonable grounds to believe that such disclosure will result in flight from prosecution.
Sir, when securing a non-disclosure order, the risks don't have to be associated...
You think that the Speaker of the House is a flight risk?
The question?
No, this is not your time. This is my time. You think the Speaker of the House is a flight risk? You think he's going to hop on a plane and leave the country?
No, what I was trying to explain is with respect to a non-disclosure order, the risks aren't necessarily associated with the subscriber to the phone. They're the risks to the investigation.
Well, Brandon had the absolute right to cut him off, because guess what? Smith managed to filibuster through Andy Biggs' 5 minutes, talked in circles, and ran out the clock. Second, he totally dodged this question and didn't explain why the Speaker of the House was labeled as a flight risk. Now, just to put it into perspective, the amount of data Smith had on these lawmakers, he had their pinpoint location, who they talked to, and how long the call lasted. He was basically mapping communication patterns among Republican lawmakers. And as we mentioned earlier, these subpoenas and the NDAs attached to them were acquired through questionable means. And Brandon had one recently declassified document that proves it. So, here we go.
In May of 2023, you also issued subpoenas for toll records of 9 U.S. senators and an additional representative. Is that right?
In May of 23, we did issue...
You did, and there were non-disclosure orders in conjunction with those subpoenas as well, right?
That's correct, consistent with department policy and
Right.
the law.
So again, nobody would know what you were doing. The senators would, and the representatives would, and the American people wouldn't know what you were doing. Is that right?
The toll records that we secured and the non-disclosure orders were consistent with policy and consistent
And you
with
knew whenever you were
standards
doing that there was a risk you were violating the speech or debate clause. Is that right?
The toll record subpoenas that we secured were with the concurrence of the public integrity.
Your own analysis says that you knew there was a risk you were violating the speech or debate clause. I have it right here. This is an email from John Keller at Public Integrity Section to your team. As you are aware, quote, as you are aware, there is some litigation risk regarding whether compelled disclosure of toll records of a member's legislative calls violates the speech or debate clause in the D.C. Circuit. That's from your own analysis right there.
Now, this specific email stands out because it appears to provide the internal justification for moving forward with subpoenas targeting Republican members of Congress. Now, in plain terms, the DOJ official acknowledged that seeking lawmakers' records could impact congressional oversight and raise concerns about separation of powers, but rated any legislation risk as minimal. Those constitutional boundaries exist for a reason. Yet despite recognizing those implications, Smith proceeded, relying on narrow technical interpretations combined with gag orders to shield the process from any scrutiny. That's why many critics are now arguing he calculated the political timeline and assumed any fallout would take years to play out. Obviously, that remains a theory, and speculation alone proves nothing. What matters more is the language in the document itself. The final line suggests Smith knew exactly what he was doing. So let's take a look at how he acted when confronted with it.
You cite case law in here, quote, the bar on compelled disclosure is absolute. Is that right? Or do you think that you didn't have to abide by that precedent?
To be clear, this statement is not from my office. This is the statement of the public.
This is your
integrity section.
justification for those subpoenas and NDOs that you ordered. This was part of your analysis. It's a cursory analysis. I think it's worth noting. But let's get to that last sentence then. Quote, given my understanding of the low likelihood that any of the members listed below would be charged, the litigation risk should be minimal here. In other words, you're using a novel legal theory, which you knew was novel, has never been tested by any court. You're not charging any of these members. Nobody's going to know about it because you issued NDOs. Nobody's going to sue this, so who cares? We're going to do it anyways. I mean, you walked all over the Constitution throughout this entire process.
Mr. Chairman, the gentleman's time has
spying
expired.
on members of Congress, and you know it. It's absolutely disgraceful. I yield back.
Honestly, Nixon resigned over much less. What makes this even more absurd is how the Democrats on the committee used the hearing to polish Jack Smith's image instead of seriously addressing the constitutional concerns. Simply put, if this is not dealt with properly, it sets a precedent. A future administration could point to the same tactics and expand them even further. Now, I don't say this lightly, but Arctic Frost appears to be a modern, more technical version of Watergate, mixed with legal technicalities. And I think having such complexity was done on purpose, because most people don't have the time or the patience to get into the details of the case. And with attention spans getting shorter by the day, such moves, although risky, carry less immediate backlash.